Two men say almost the same thing in the same meeting. One finishes, and the room nods. Decision made. The other finishes, and someone talks right over him like he never spoke. Same idea. Same room. Completely different outcome. You already know which one you've been. Here's what nobody tells you. It's not volume. It's not the title on your badge. It's not some confidence trick you're missing. You've been taught that authority is a personality trait, something you either have or you don't. That's wrong. Authority is built from tiny verbal habits, and most men are leaking them away without ever noticing, one sentence at a time. 5 habits. That's what's actually happening every time you speak and the room stops taking you seriously. 5 specific things you're saying or doing that quietly hand your authority to whoever's willing to take it. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which ones are yours. Stay until mistake 5. That one isn't like the others. It's the one running underneath everything else on this list. And once you see it, you'll realize you've been doing it in almost every conversation you've had this week. Number 1. The apology before the sentence. Picture this. You need something from a coworker. Nothing crazy, just 5 minutes of their time. And before you even say what you need, you type it. Sorry to bother you. You read it back. It feels polite. Considerate, even. You hit send and move on with your day, never once realizing what that sentence just cost you. Here's what nobody tells you. You're not being considerate. You're announcing, before you've said a single word of substance, that your presence is an inconvenience. And the room believes you. That's the trap. People don't decide how much weight to give your request. You tell them, in the first 4 words, and they simply agree. There's a reason this habit is so hard to shake, and it's not weakness. Psychologists call it the spotlight effect. Researchers found that people wildly overestimate how much others are noticing and judging them, sometimes by more than double. Your brain thinks the whole room is scrutinizing your every message. It isn't. Nobody's tallying whether you should have messaged them. They're barely thinking about you at all. But you apologize anyway, to a spotlight that was never on. Most people apologize first because it feels like padding, something to soften the blow before the real ask lands. Respected people skip it entirely. They just say the thing. And the gap between those two approaches isn't small. It's the difference between a request that gets prioritized and one that gets pushed to the bottom of someone's inbox. Think about the last Slack message you sent. Sorry, quick question. Now imagine sending quick question instead. Same words. Same person. Completely different response. Because you just told them your time matters as much as theirs. That fixes what you say before you speak. But there's something in how you say it that does even more damage, and it's not about the words at all. It's about the shape of the sentence itself. Number 2. Turning statements into questions. Most people think ending a sentence on a rising note sounds friendly, approachable, easy to talk to. It doesn't. It sounds like you're asking permission to have said it at all. I think we should launch on Friday. Say that out loud. Notice what your voice does at the end. It climbs. And the second it climbs, you've turned a decision into a request for someone else's approval. Linguists call this uptalk, and here's the part that actually matters. It's not just a speech habit. It's a signal your listener's brain processes automatically, without them even deciding to. A statement that ends flat gets filed as fact. A statement that ends with a rise gets filed as a question, something still open, still waiting on someone else to weigh in. You didn't ask a question. Their brain heard one anyway. Think about the last time you were in a room where a decision needed to be made. There are 2 types of people in that room. One finishes their sentence and lets their voice drop, flat and final, like the sentence closed a door behind it. The other finishes the exact same sentence and lets it lift, like the door's still open, waiting for someone to walk through and correct them. Same information, same intelligence, same right answer, half the time. Only one of them gets treated like the person actually running the room. This is bigger than it sounds. Because it's not about what you're saying anymore. Mistake 1 was about the words you chose before you even opened your mouth. This one happens inside a sentence you've already committed to, in real time, without you noticing your own voice doing it. If mistake 1 changed what people hear, mistake 2 changes whether they trust what you just said. That's a different kind of damage. And the next one is worse. Number 3. Never letting a silence sit. Nobody's going to tell you this, so I will. Your need to fill every silence is the loudest thing about you. Someone asks you a question. There's a half second of quiet before you answer, and your whole body rejects it. You jump in. You start talking before you even know what you're going to say, because that half second felt unbearable and you needed it gone. Here's why. Silence feels like exposure. In that gap, you imagine everyone staring, judging, waiting to catch you not knowing something. So you rush to fill it. and it feels like the helpful thing to do. It feels considerate, quick, responsive. It is none of those things. It's completely wrong, and it signals exactly the opposite of what you think it does. Not confidence. Discomfort. Two managers get asked the same hard question in a meeting. The first jumps in before the question even finishes, stacking words on top of words, trying to out-talk his own nerves. The second says nothing for 3 full seconds. Just looks at the question, thinks, then answers, calm, unhurried, like the silence cost him nothing at all. Everyone in that room remembers the second manager as the one in control. Nobody remembers what he actually said. We're building toward the one mistake on this list that changes everything else, and it's coming up next. But you need this one first, because it's the reason the next one works at all. High-status people use pause as a tool. Not a gap to survive, a signal to send. It says, I don't need to prove I have an answer immediately. Socially anxious people compress every pause into nothing, because nothing feels safer than that stretch of quiet where anyone could be watching. Think about your last conversation. Did you actually pause? Or did you just refuse to let the silence exist? What I'm about to show you in Mistake 4 is going to feel wrong the first time you try it. It goes against everything you've been taught about being a good listener. Number 4. Speeding up when you're challenged. Researchers studying stress response found something most people never connect to how they talk. The moment you feel challenged, cortisol spikes in your bloodstream within seconds, and one of the first things it hijacks is your speech rate. You don't decide to talk faster. Your body does it for you, and everyone listening can hear it happen in real time. Here's the part that stings. You think speed sounds like readiness, like you've got the answer loaded and waiting. It doesn't land that way. It lands like scrambling. Most people, the second they get pushed back on, speed up. Words start stacking on top of each other, sentences trip over their own endings, and the pace itself becomes the tell. Socially aware people do the opposite. They slow down exactly when the pressure spikes, and the difference in how they're perceived isn't small. It's everything. One sounds like he's defending himself. The other sounds like he already knew this question was coming. You know the moment. You're mid-presentation, and someone cuts in. I don't think that's right. And before you've even processed what they said, your own voice has already sped up, chasing an answer you haven't fully formed yet, just to fill the space before your credibility bleeds out. Here's the fix, and it costs you nothing. Half a second. That's it. Before you respond to pushback, you pause, just half a second, on purpose. Not scrambling for words. Choosing them. That single beat of silence does more for how you're perceived than anything you say after it, because it tells the room your pace is a choice, not a panic response. That one was about what happens to your voice under pressure. The next one isn't about your voice at all. It's about the one thing you keep doing that undoes everything else on this list, even when you get every other habit right. Number 5. Explaining yourself when no one asked. I want you to think about the last time you gave someone 3 reasons for a decision they never questioned. You made a call. Nobody challenged it. And still, you kept talking, stacking justification on top of justification, because some part of you needed them to understand the reasoning before they could possibly accept it. Here's what that does. Robert Cialdini's research on influence points to something researchers call overjustification, and it works against you in a very specific way. Every extra reason you offer for something nobody questioned tells the listener's brain one thing. You don't fully trust this decision either. Your reasoning might be flawless. Doesn't matter. The sheer volume of defense signals doubt, and their brain reads the doubt louder than it reads the logic. There are 2 types of people who get asked, why did you do that? One says a single sentence. Flat, complete, done. It was the better option. The other gives a paragraph, unprompted context, 3 supporting points, a preemptive rebuttal to an objection nobody raised. Same intelligence. Same correct decision, most of the time. But only one of them sounds like they're actually in charge of the room, and it's never the one still talking 4 sentences later. This isn't about vocabulary. It was never about finding smarter words or better phrasing. It's about whether you trust your own decisions enough to let them stand without a defense attached. Every habit on this list up to now has been about what leaves your mouth. This one is about what you believe underneath it, and that's exactly why it's the one most men never catch. Everything on this list works on the surface. Watch your apologies. Drop the uptalk. Hold your silence. Slow your pace under pressure. All of that helps. But this one works underneath all of it. Because the moment you stop over-explaining, the moment you let a decision sit without chasing it with 3 reasons, everything else on this list stops being a technique you're performing. It becomes something true about how you already carry yourself. This isn't about sounding different. It's about being different. These 5 things were never scripts. You don't perform your way out of leaking uncertainty. You stop leaking it, and the words take care of themselves. Here's the thing. Don't try to fix all 5 this week. That's how people quit by Wednesday. Instead, think back through this list and find the one that actually stung. The one where you thought, that's me, that's exactly what I do. That's not a coincidence. That's the mistake running your interactions right now, quietly, in almost every room you walk into. Start there. Just that one. Comment which mistake hit hardest. I read every single one, and I mean that, not as a line, but because that's genuinely how I know what to break down next. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing this. Every week, I take apart the hidden psychology behind why some people command a room without raising their voice, while others get talked over no matter how right they are. Not generic advice. The actual mechanics. That's what this channel is for.